The greatest rapper alive is Kendrick Lamar. He has an ear for music that rolls from jazz with the swagger of a young Jay-Z, the consciousness of a woke Tupac, and the lyrical prowess of a prime Biggie Smalls. It's no surprise that if there were ever to be a recipient of a Pulitzer Prize for music outside of jazz and classic, the first would go to the bravely honest and layered rapper from Compton. One of the songs from the award-winning album Damn that went on to be the rapper's first #1 single on the Billboard 100 is Humble, a song that explores the complexity of ambitious African Americans who have to take on multiple personas and traits to survive, of which the most important is humility. A seemingly challenging paradox that Kendrick narrates so eloquently in a world where hip-hop is celebrated for bravado and arrogance. What I love about Kendrick is how he doesn't shy away from speaking about the difficult political and socioeconomic challenges disenfranchised minorities have to navigate. He inspires me to find my voice when it comes to entrepreneurship and speak its truth with a similar raw conviction. Whether we like it or not, we have cognitive biases that shape our outlook of the world and how we make decisions. In the 1950s, psychologist Herbert Simon made the important assertion that although humans may strive to make rational decisions, our judgments are ultimately at the mercy of cognitive limitations. It is this research that became an important anchor for the Nobel Prize-winning duo Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman, who in the 1970s gave birth to what we know today as behavioral economics. One of my favorite books is Thinking Fast and Slow, where Daniel Kahneman expounds on the cognitive biases and limitations that influence how people think and the judgments people make. These limitations then force us to rely on mental shortcuts to make sense of the world. It is through studying these works where I got introduced to heuristics. Heuristics are our default approach to solving problems in a situation with limited time or where we do not have the capacity to analyze complete sets of data. Although heuristics have a role to play in how we socially navigate day-to-day life, they become a dangerous pitfall in areas that require a much deeper level of thinking. Snap judgments are so easy to formulate because they're second nature to us. Whenever I tell someone I'm an entrepreneur, they already have an archetype of the type of individual I am. Whenever we see an advert for perfume with cinematic panning shots of European models in slim-fit merino wool suits with Oliver Arnold's music in the background, we already have an idea in our minds who the targeted consumer is. It's almost like when you're in a crowded area and there's a really stunning girl on the other side of the room smiling and waving in your direction. In a matter of seconds, you feel like you're in a Hugo Boss advert as you smile and wave back, only to wish for the earth to open up and swallow you whole there and then when you realize she is smiling and waving at the person behind you. If only you had slowed down and looked behind you instead of relying on intuition and acting out of impulse. In a world that is moving, shifting, and evolving at an alarming fast rate, it is brutally painful to slow down. The world is full of attractive and stunning opportunities, all waving in our direction. Humility forces you to slow down and look around you to learn and understand that not every opportunity is waving at you. This is quite counterintuitive for many who believe entrepreneurs must decide quickly, trust their intuitions, and be charismatic, super confident individuals in chasing opportunities. At first glance, when you listen to the song Humble, I wouldn't blame you for thinking it's another record of an overly confident hip-hop artist telling everyone how great he is and how his critics and competition need to humble themselves in his presence. In the third and fourth lines of the first verse, he says, "I'm counting this Parmesan where my accountant lives. In fact, I'm downing this Douce." Sounds pretty pompous, right? But the first two lines set the scene of the comparative texture of this entire song. And if that's not convincing for you, then watch the music video that carefully tries to dismantle the snap judgment towards Black African Americans, urging listeners to slow down, recognize their own biases, flaws, and limitations, be humble, sit down. Similar to how Kenrick challenges us to confront our biases of popular Black culture with humility, I think it is important to confront the biases of entrepreneurship with the same cautious demeanor. In watching the profound way the world has shifted, with pandemics putting century-old large iconic organizations onto their knees, we need to be mindful of dangerous heuristics. Heuristics that create cognitive laziness in reducing the mental effort required to make decisions and choices. The challenge with a lot of the entrepreneurship evangelism I see being preached focuses on sweat equity and less on mental equity. How many times have you heard ideas are meaningless and action is what brings results? To a certain extent, I agree with this assertion. We can't spend our time in think tanks postulating what we think would be the most ideal entrepreneurial pursuits. An entrepreneurship doctrine I strongly believe in and advocate for is one of continuous testing, tinkering, and iterating. However, if our actions are predicated on loose ideas we've used to make sense of a very complicated world, we are bound to make very costly mistakes. Okay, look, I'm not blind to the important role heuristics play. There are many day-to-day and even important business decisions that require us to pull on the pattern of knowledge we have on our hands to make decisions. All I'm cautioning is for us to be mindful of how limited that knowledge is. Maybe I'm biased because I'm in the business of innovating insights and selling ideas, but I really enjoy learning. I fundamentally believe entrepreneurship is just different ways we choose to learn and commercialize what we learn. The fertile ground of revolutionary education takes place at the humble spots we confront to navigate turbulent oceans with our tiny paddles of knowledge. What I propose to become better losers is adopting what I call humility heuristics. We have to confront the reality that no matter the amount of depth and experience we may have in the body of knowledge we are building our entrepreneurship pursuits on, that knowledge is limited and we are not as great as we think we are. We have to be comfortable with the fact that we are losers and understand that the markets we seek to conquer belong to those who approach the complexities of the opportunities with a cautious humility. My favorite bar in the hit Humble is where Kenrick remarks, "I'm so fucking sick and tired of the Photoshop. Show me something natural like Afro and Richard Pryor. Show me something natural like ass with some stretch marks." This for me is the line that epitomizes what entrepreneurship is all about. Recognizing the game is about losses and becoming a better loser by becoming comfortable with your losses. To be honest, this is a struggle for me. A big part of the reason for me putting this series together is to confront my perfectionism, Photoshop addiction, and validation seeking demons in order to be a better entrepreneur. I know what it's like to win and have been blessed with many wins in my corporate ascension. I've grown addicted to the dopamine released every time someone likes, congratulates, or says something positive about my social media posts with all my wins. And I'll continue to post these wins, for I'm only human and could do with all the affirmation I can get, even if it does not come from me. I'll continue to post these wins to inspire entrepreneurship hopefuls that there is light on the other side of the struggles. However, I will not shy away from the stretch marks of carrying the weight of struggles for the longest time. I will not let the wins hinder me from crucial entrepreneurship lessons only losses can teach. This is the ultimate struggle, to confront the silence of spaces with no applause and the echoes of insecurities that come with them. To let these moments of tension between a desire to be confident in my knowledge and a willingness to let go of this desire in pursuit of humility because I do not know. This is what makes the journey of startup entrepreneurship so fucking hard. Realizing the losses are inevitable because there are so many cognitive biases that lead to false assumptions and incorrect snap judgments. Realizing that losses are an important part of the process because they teach us to be humble. They teach us to pursue the kind of losses that make us better thinkers and more effective executors. They teach us to be better entrepreneurs. They teach us to be better losers.